No. So, welcome back. Hello. Why is this showing that? That's kind of embarrassing. Let's see if we can switch this up. We do not want to share that. That would be kind of silly of us. Okay, so we'll share pages again. Welcome back. And thank you for the views last evening and the evenings before. And as you may have noticed from our icon tonight, Karl Marx has dumped us for Baywatch. I don't believe he's got the prime Pamela Anderson, but he seems to be happy all the same. Lost a lot of weight after all that hard work in the jungle, and we wish the best for our bro. Karl, and our job tonight is as quick as possible, with as little bullshit as possible, is to close up what we have looked into the last few days, where I am principally translating an article which I believe to be quite expert and informed by Marxist and pseudo-Marxist and Marxist students who knew Deleuze, who spoke about his relationship with Marx and Deleuze. So these are not young authors trying to, sell a new book or convince you. These are just cool people. Fortunately, they're all women. And the only polemical thing I'll say on this note is in France, I cannot, do not on my life understand why Macron continues to refuse to vote for, or not to vote for, but to allow a government with Lucie Castet, who is center-left, a great politician, a woman, and this would be a great solution. But everyone apparently has their own reasons for things, and we can just hope. There we go again. I've shot my OBS into full screen oblivion, that we can get someone good to lead the coalition in France for the next 2 years. So we're going to go right back. We do have our chat thing running, so I apologize. I do miss some chats occasionally. I'm just going to write hello. 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 I hate changing keyboards. There we go. Hello. I'm going to write please chat. So if anyone wants to say anything, we're here. No problem. And I hope it comes through. So let's pick up right away where we left off. And that was, if I remember, because I went ahead and read this whole thing today. We were talking with Anna Sobagnarga and Deleuze's collaboration with Guattari, who was much more militant and would belong to the PC, the Parti Communiste. And I was kind of skipping around because this interview is quite long. And I believe we spoke about the role of difference and Deleuze, and this is up until 1970, pre-Guattari. This tendency of Marx to be considered by Deleuze as kind of a peripheral Hegelian. And Hegel was obviously the enemy, so Marx was always considered in that way up until his meeting with Pierre Félix Guattari. And let me see, because we mentioned last evening the need for of transversality on the part of Guattari, and that was a way of organizing, criticizing, reorganizing hierarchical relationships in mental hospitals. I don't know if you can call them that today, but in order to, overcome this panoptic hierarchical relationship between doctor and patient, I'm going to start off here. And let's see if this is something I already covered last night, because also this evening I need to go pretty quickly. And so this is the beginning of the next question to Anne Sauvergnat. And I will pose the question right now. Right now I'm going to try and copy paste the answer on our pages here. You should be able to see that. So I can't move that anymore left, so I have to go back to OBS and try and drag that. Good luck with that. Let's try again. Good luck with that. Let's try and lock everything except capture d'écran. No. That kind of pisses me off. I do not want to get angry here. What about this? Maybe we can see a little bit more of that. I hope so. Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go. We can see that now. So good for us. Let's lock everything. And the question here, I'm going to read to Anne Sauvergnat, was cette question de l'institution et de l'organisation était justement au centre des interrogations de Guattari avant sa rencontre avec Deleuze. So I think I succeeded in picking up directly. And the question to Anne is this question of institutions and of the organization of institutions was justly at the center of the questions and work of Pierre-Félix Guattari before meeting Deleuze. So, like we said yesterday, Deleuze's writings were very oriented towards the practical. His world was not philosophical. He had a practical clinic to deal with every day. And so his writings tended to be about the whole organization and structure of this clinic and how that works. So very, very practical. And here we have our answer. We have, it is indeed a question which requires us to take into account the trajectory of Félix Guattari to understand what is happening at the time of May 1968 and the meeting with Deleuze. Because at the time when Deleuze clarifies his philosophy of difference, Guattari, from these first writings, formulates a clinic of organizations, whether political or psychotherapeutic. So, super easy. Deleuze was finalizing his writings and his concept of difference, and at the same time, Guattari was writing about organization of psychotherapeutical clinics or political organization, etc., etc. So very kind of the abstract and the concrete. Two very, very different ways of approaching things. So it is all the more important to emphasize that Guattari is first and foremost a committed writer, and that he writes to transform concrete situations into collective connections. The texts, which were collected in 1972 under the title Psychoanalysis and Transversality, do not move on the soul terrain of theory. So here I'm a little bit worried that I'm repeating myself. And I think I am, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And I'm going to go, right now, what I'm skipping is this whole idea of transversality, which we looked into yesterday. And that being that if you are in a collective or social organization, be it a political party, a company, a business, a hospital or a therapeutical clinic, you have this whole issue of organization of roles, hierarchies, powers, etc., etc. And Anne here is just reinforcing, like we saw last night, that Guattari sought always to avoid the vertical and the implicitly implied horizontal hierarchies, and therefore tried to work with diagonals. No, it's a very spatial graphic thing, but he would literally say, like we said yesterday, if the hierarchy up here is doctor and the patient is down here, I'm going to draw a diagonal, and therefore the doctor and the patient are going to sleep together 3 days a week and get to know each other. And that was literally as simplistic and as brutal as it may seem. That was his way of attempting to overcome the traditional hierarchy of the doctor. So the next question is always to Anne Sauvergnat. I hope you didn't do yesterday. À travers la collaboration avec Guattari, le rapport de la pensée Deluezue and Marx et le marxisme se transforme donc. Il se fait un sens plus explicite, mais comme vous le notez, Isabelle Garon, sans rien perdre ni des audaces, des innovations conceptuelles, ni des ambivalences de ce déplacement des enjeux politiques du temps à l'intérieur d'une pratique théorique qui les transforme, mais aussi qui s'aménage à travers eux une autonomie relative par le rapport de la chambre politique. That's kind of a long question. I got it, but I would prefer to translate it to you because I don't want to be superficial on this one. I'm sure I messed it up again. No. I think we have it copy-paste. So this is the question posed to Anne Sauvergnat. Collet, through the collaboration with Guattari, the relationship of Deleuzean thought to Marx and to Marxism is therefore transformed. It is done in a more explicit sense, but as you note, Isabelle Garon, in this interview, they're obviously both together. Those were the days, no? Without losing anything either of the audacity of conceptual innovations, nor of the ambivalences of this displacement of the political issues of time within a practice, let's say within a theoretical practice which transforms them, but also which creates through them a relative autonomy in relation to the political field. So that's kind of a curveball for Anne. That's not an easy question. So let's look at it again quite quickly. Through the collaboration with Guattari, the relationship of Deleuzean thought to Marx. So Deleuze's thought has to transform if he is, to enter into a becoming with Pierre-Félix Guattari. It is done in a more explicit sense, but as Isabel says, without losing the audacity of conceptual innovations, nor of the ambivalences of this displacement of the political issues of time within a theoretical practice which transform them, but which also creates through them a relative autonomy in relation to the political field. So once again, sounds complicated, but very quickly, Deleuze with Guattari is obviously going to have to confront Guattari's militancy when they write together, and his conceptions or notions of Marx, we're saying here, however, they're not going to get dulled down, no? And that's a pretty important point, because when, even Deleuze has said himself that, when we write together, but that doesn't mean we think the same thing, no? Deleuze has always maintained that my Marx and the Marx of Guattari are different. We do not think identically. So, the point here is just very simply that for Deleuze, up until his meeting with Guattari, Marx was relatively horrific. But, however, when forced to confront Marx, because with Guattari, who was a pretty radical militant in the Communist Party, Deleuze, it's not like he rolled over and accepted the existing dogma. He still maintained his original audacity and will to conceptual innovation, etc., etc. No, he didn't just roll over and say, you're my bro, therefore you write about, Marx, and then, no. The whole relationship, the entire writing process was done together, but in a highly, highly critical manner. And that's the whole point. Up until the point of where really couldn't distinguish one from the other, and it just became so convoluted, that something with difference, something new emerges. So, let's go on a little bit here. Up. Let's see if we can translate 2 paragraphs. Then we're probably going to take a short break because I have some kind of weird. That's the 3rd time. Oh my God, Apple. What happened to you, Apple? Seriously, what have you become? Apple, Steve, how did you let this happen? Absolutely useless. Okay, we're gonna go back and try to translate. And I believe we managed to do it. So this is the next part of the answer to the question. I will repeat the question again because this is quite complicated. So let's get rid of this here. Copy here. So once again, I'm going way back to the question, and our question was to Anne. That was a long one. We translated it, but let's say substantially what we said before. How does Deleuze's relation to Marx change through Pierre Félix Guattari? To make it simple. So we have her second part of her answer. Through the collaboration with Guattari, the relationship of Deleuzean thought to Marx and to Marxism is therefore transformed. Okay, it is done in a more explicit sense, but this is what we read before, I think. So that means once again I've wasted your time and made another freaking mistake. Which kind of ticks me off, but we'll fix this real quick, I promise you. Back here. Also, because we should know a lot of Windows commands right now. Haha, there we go. And should be a little bit faster. There we go. So, my apologies for that misstep. Let's get rid of this, but we're already ready to go. Okay, so this is the answer here. I'm just missing a T. The concept of machine is decisive. It is around, it's decisive. Yeah, think about Marx and machines, and they're not obviously not the same concept of the machines according to Deleuze and Guattari, but there is a curious kind of echo there. So the concept of machine is decisive. It is around it that the relationship between Deleuze and Guattari is formed. Lacan, having asked Guattari to list difference and repetition and logic of sense, Guattari responds by substituting the concept of machine for that of structure. The problem of meaning as a surface effect outlined in Deleuze in the conceptual network which passes from structure, 1967, to idea, 1968, from meaning, 1969, to the machine in Anti-Oedipus in 1972. The structure is lodged in 1967 in the conceptual space that essence occupied in 1964. And once again, hats off. I mean, very, very talented. And in logic of sense, Deleuze clearly says structure is a machine for producing incorporeal meaning, skindapsos, whatever that means. But this concept of machine connects structural meaning, Stoic logic, and paradox la Lewis Carroll. So, an important point here for us, trying to be as reductive as possible. And as I repeat, I always know that the people that watch us are much, much more savvy and much, much smarter and can do much more with this. What Anne is saying here is that already in Deleuze, this idea of machine is percolating. But what really unites Deleuze and Guattari is the concept of the machine substituting the concept of structure. And this is really the glue initially that holds them together. So at this point we can march forward and finish Anne's response to this question, and we shouldn't have too much more. Hopefully you can close up as quickly as possible here. No, Mac still doesn't like Windows mouses, but we can do this. Oh, no rush, huh? What in God's name? So this is the end of answer right here. And she goes on to say that Guattari transforms once and for all this analysis, structural in appearance but already shifted, and shakes up the ordered chains of signifiers and signifies by refusing the authoritarian cut of the major signifier. It replaces the transversal minority of the machine, which also cuts the flows, but which no longer functions in the signifying order of the symbolic or the discourse, by opposing term by term the machine in the social order of production to the structure in the symbolic order of significance. Guattari takes a decisive step. Let's read that one more time, because this is not light stuff here. Shakespeare is by refusing the authoritarian cut. So this is an associated process of shift in the order. So we're going to go, let's say the machine replaces the transversal minority of the machine, which also cuts the flows, but which no longer functions in the signifying order or the symbolic or the discourse. It will be interesting. First encounter for me. Let's check our... No, hey, fuck. Let's go to our chat here. I'm going to send a message to you guys. I'm going to say, what do you think the meaning of that, the Spanish keyboard, that that is my friend. So we're asking you directly in the chat if anyone knows, has an idea what that means. For me, I would start by looking into that. by transversality as this practice, this geometric, diagrammatic, the simple diagrammatic practice of Guattari to, kind of overcome the X and Y dimensions with diagonals, so you kind of mix up hierarchies. But that would lead us here to say that it replaces the transversal minority. So once again, the concept of machine replaces here the concept or the idea of transversality. It replaces the transversal minority of the machine, which also cuts the flows, but which no longer functions in the signifying order of the symbolic or the discourse, by posing term by term the machine in the social order of production to the structure in the symbolic order of significance. Guattari takes a decisive step. The entire critique of the signifier, which allows Guattari and Deleuze to escape from psychoanalysis, is already there. The machine, concrete, political and technical, in its social materiality and its real production capacity, definitively rejects the symbolic signifying. And am I missing something from the interview? Good freaking question. Hang on 1 second. No, this is a translation. Wow, that is strange. Definitively rejects the symbolic. And then I have signifying, correct? Differential. Hang on, let me copy and paste this piece on here because this is important, but he's not going to let me do it. Oh my God. This software. I'm going to North Korea. I'm sure they have to be better than this. So, we have to go find this. So the entire critique, by opposing the machine, Guattari takes a decisive step. The entire critique of the signifier, which allows Guattari and Deleuze to escape from psychoanalysis, is already there. The machine, concrete, political and technical, in its social materiality and its real production capacity, definitively rejects the symbolic signifying, and that's the piece I attached on. I'm just missing it. The differential structure, perhaps, but not only in the order of ideality. Exit structure. I want to look at that in French. I'm just curious. Dans le séminaire italien, social. Exit la structure. No, same thing. Exit structure. Make way for the machine. So get the fuck out of here. Structure, make way for the machine, which combines a theory of production, the contribution of Marx and Lacan, with an interest in politics and a theory of civilizations and history, hitherto absent from Deleuze's concerns. However, of the three conditions defined by Deleuze to qualify the structure, Guattari only retains the first two. Of any two heterogeneous series, one will be determined as a significant and the other as signified. 1 second. Why is this opening up this window? Go to hell. Each of these series is made up of terms which only exist relatively to each other. Calling this serialization structure did not bother him in 1969. The third condition, on the other hand, two heterogeneous series converge towards a paradoxical element which serves as a differentiator, relates to the order of the machine. And I would put my money that we are going to be talking about later on the nomad and nomadology, but it's a little bit premature to do that. So once again, let's see, I'm going to cut down here because it's still Wednesday and we have more important things to do in our lives. I just want to see how many paragraphs are missing. 1, 2, 3. Well, this is long stuff. Yeah, so I apologize. I've been promising everyone they're cleaning things up and getting out here, but it's very likely that today and tomorrow we're going to keep going on with this. But I don't think, I think now, we've taken a detour, so we have to take the detour all the way to the end, and maybe, you know, the detour has some worthwhile stuff going on in that. So just if we have to condense things very quickly, as we stated, Deleuze's relationship to Marx was quite entirely peripheral. However, with Guattari, as one would expect, a communist militant, Lacanian and Marxian, let's say that the two, the combination of Deleuze and Guattari ultimately leads us to this concept, this very novel concept of the machine, which is kind of like I wouldn't say machine de guerre, not a war machine, but it's, for lack of a better word, it's a kind of organism which involves production, history, production in Marxist terms, production in Lacanian terms, etc., etc. So here, the important point, if we made it that far this evening, is that this is where the issue, no, this is the result of the encounter, and it, not to be reductive, there are tons of other things, no, but in the context of this interview, Anne is saying that it's the exiting of structure, and therefore, you know, signifier signifying meaning, bye-bye, and we present the concept of the machine, which, I repeat, is not singular. It's a multiplicity and involves many things, and that is kind of, let's not say the product, that's a bad word, the result, or it's kind of, you know, it's the creation, the birth that, in her opinion, the most important birth that Guattari and Deleuze gave to. So we're going to shut down over here. It's super late. I hope we got a little bit further. No questions. I'm sending out confetti 100 and some hearts out to you. As always, thank you for your following, and we will continue with these issues tomorrow. So have a lovely evening. Thank you, and bye-bye.